There is an image of George Armstrong Custer permanently burned into popular culture. He stands defiant on a windswept ridge, his golden hair blowing in the breeze as he faces down an impossible enemy. Decades of folklore and motion pictures built this final stand into an American epic, cementing Custer in the public memory as a tragic, immortal military genius, making the ultimate sacrifice. The historical record, however, details a career defined by recurring tactical errors and a persistent refusal to follow orders. This was the real Custer, a vainglorious showman, known more for his insatiable thirst for publicity than any demonstrated tactical mastery. The immense gap between the heroic myth and the reality of the man obscures a profound, entirely preventable military failure. His academic record established a pattern of poor performance early on. Custer lacked a strategic mind, preferring instinctive fighting over studying his profession. He graduated from West Point 34th out of a class of 34, dead last. He compensated for his lack of military intelligence with an immense ego and a constant drive for attention. He designed his own glittering velvet and gold uniforms to ensure he always stood out in the field. By 1867, this behavior resulted in a court-martial. During General Hancock's reconnaissance, Custer forsook his mission to pursue his own goals and treated his men with such cruelty that he abandoned 2 of them to hostile forces. He also constantly spread allegations of corruption to the press that he could not justify, alienating the highest-ranking officers in the military, including General William Tecumseh Sherman. His tendency to challenge authority and leak reports ultimately earned him the enmity of General Philip Sheridan and President Ulysses S. Grant. Custer was driven by an unchecked desire for personal glory. This established a behavioral pattern of narcissism and indiscipline that made him uniquely dangerous in a leadership position. When the military moved to subdue the Sioux in 1876, Custer only received a command role in the 7th Cavalry because of General Terry's personal influence in Washington. Custer's insubordination resurfaced the moment he left camp. Before departing, Colonel Gibbons explicitly ordered him not to be greedy and to wait for the rest of the forces. Custer ambiguously replied, "No, I won't," and rode off. He was convinced of his own invincibility, openly boasting to others that the 7th Cavalry could defeat the Native American forces alone. This is the mechanism of a Gatling gun. When it was suggested that he take these weapons for support, Custer scornfully refused. Leaving these guns behind stripped his unit of the concentrated firepower required to suppress a numerically superior enemy. Custer's hubris had now shifted from a difficult personality trait into a direct operational hazard. In June 1876, his forces approached an encampment in the valley of the Little Bighorn River. It was massive, housing an estimated 15,000 people, including at least 5,000 Sioux and Cheyenne warriors. Custer's first fatal error was ignoring his own Crow Scouts. He allowed his men to light campfires, immediately giving away their position and losing any chance of a surprise attack. Shortly after, he spotted a small group of Sioux riding away. He incorrectly assumed this meant the entire force would panic and scatter at the mere sight of U.S. cavalry. His scouts again tried to warn him that he was drastically underestimating the enemy's numbers. He refused to listen. Despite facing 10-to-1 odds, Custer divided his command into 3 parts to attack from multiple sides. The southern charges led by Reno and Benteen were swept back by a massive counterattack, forcing survivors into the bluffs. These compounding errors left the regiment isolated and overextended, making a tactical collapse inevitable. Custer was now 3 miles away from the rest of his regiment, entirely beyond help. Before he could attack, the main body of the Sioux, led by Chiefs Crazy Horse and Gall, drove him back onto a slope. The engagement ended in a rapid slaughter. It was a bungled operation that cost 211 men their lives in a matter of minutes. Even the final physical myth of the golden-haired martyr is false. Expecting disaster, Custer had cut his hair into a short crew cut before the battle. He was recognized by the victorious warriors and left unscalped. His entire immediate command was wiped out. The bodies of his men were left on the hills above the river, miles from their closest support. The Battle of the Little Bighorn stands as a warning against placing ego above responsibility. If a commander's historical record is defined by insubordination and ineptitude, why do we so eagerly allow the myth of their heroism to eclipse the historical truth of their failure?